All right. Well, Pixel Perfect here. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to do a quick demonstration here. This is going to be a blind test, so I have no idea about the results. So we're here to find them all out together. We've got a Pixel 8 Pro on this side and a Pixel 7 Pro, its predecessor. Currently, I'm trying to see if the G3, the new, um, brighter, much better screen or display, as well as the upgraded cameras, kind of, are really worth it compared to the 7 Pro. And, you know, let's find out together. First of all, we're going to do a startup test, see which one starts up faster. And then we're going to go into the uh, benchmarks real quick. We're going to do a Geekbench CPU stress test as well as uh, a GPU test. And if I'm feeling frisky, maybe we'll look into some other stuff, like maybe 3D Mark. But for now, let's see how it does. And I also have my trusty thermometer here to see how both phones handle thermals. Now, one thing you might notice is that when you put them together, this one is upside down. Perfect. When you put them together, it looks as if the 7 Pro is a little taller. That is an optical illusion. They're both pretty much the same size. It is the case itself that is making it slightly taller, and the fact that this has more rounded edges. Uh, I could take them out the case, but I think I'm just going to keep them in the case. Thermals, it's not really going to matter that much when it comes to keeping them in the case or not. So let's get both going. Hopefully, I can get both of them in. This does have the new mouse case, which is really nice, high quality, really slim. The only downside is it does not provide much lip protection here. It's pretty flush. So if you're looking for something that's super slim but gives you nice protection overall, it's pretty good. Um, this one, on the other hand, this is the Peak design. It has worn pretty poorly on the top here over time, but overall, I would say this is my favorite case, period. It's got a slim profile as well as nice clicky buttons, as well as giving you that little lip protection as it's being raised right here. So you can put the phone down and not have to worry about the screen scratching or anything like that. Both phones have a cracked screen protector at the moment because I have dropped both of them plenty of times already. So please disregard that. I did crack this recently on a walk when my dog's uh, waste bag container kept smacking against my foot and eventually ended up hitting the right spot of the screen protector and I ended up cracking it. That's what you get when you buy cheap screen protectors. I do have a white stone dome screen protector that's going to be coming in a couple of days, so that will be replaced. But I do want to let you know that is not the screen, it is the protector on top. So please, for now, disregard that. And let's go into boot up. All right, I've got both phones here. This is not scientific, by the way. Please don't at me at the comments. This is about as close as I can get him. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. I do think one started a little bit faster than the other. I also do have a kind of a more stock experience. Okay, the 7 Pro first to launch. That is interesting. The 8 Pro is taking its sweet time. We've got pretty much ready to go here. And finally, back on. Okay, so that was an interesting result. Um, the G3 took a little bit longer. So I'm gonna input my pin code here and then we're gonna keep going. All right, we are back in. I have the application is pretty much ready to go. It is a fresh boot and no apps have been activated in the back. We've got, you know what? Let me turn on airplane mode. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference or not. We're gonna, okay, let's get rid of that. I'm gonna turn on the do not disturb so I don't get any text messages while I am in here. All right, so we are completely fresh and no apps in the background. Connected to Wi-Fi, do not disturb is on, and airplane mode is on. I don't know if that's gonna make any difference, but let's give it a shot here. On three, 1, 2, 3. All right, pretty much identical. That's what I like to see, given that it is its predecessor. And honestly, the G3 is not that much different. In terms of real world usage, I don't think I've noticed that much of a difference. All right, so should we do a GPU? Let's do a CPU. As you can see, we have the Pixel 8 Pro running Android 14, and we have the Pixel 7 Pro running Android 14. We have 4 core clusters, 2 and 2, and then we have 4 core clusters, 4 and 1. So it's a little bit of a different setup on the G3. I think it's trying to go after the whole Snapdragon Gen 2 setup, which is interesting because I think the Gen 3 might be going in the tensor route in terms of their core structures, but with the 2 powerful cores, but whatever. I digress. Let's do a CPU benchmark on 3, 1. Wait, before I do this, let us do a trusty thermometer check on both phones. And I know the processor is right in this area for both phones, so I'm gonna get about an average here. So we got a 72.9 Fahrenheit. Yes, this is gonna be Fahrenheit because guess what? And 71.5 Fahrenheit. So it's interesting that this one's a degree lower already. Okay. All right. So we're in the 72 and 71. So let's do the test in 3, 2, 1, go. And this is where we're gonna let this run, and then when it gets close to the end, I'm gonna come back and we can check on the results right before it's done. One thing I wanted to highlight is that the G3 seems to be going through this a hair faster than the G2. It is at 24, and this one is at 21, 27 now here. And it seems to be, I wouldn't say making its lead larger, but kind of a consistent lead so far. All right, we're pretty much at the halfway point here. I just want to do a quick temperature check. We got 75.9, and we've got, yeah, that's about right. Okay, so 74.8. So we've got about a degree difference still. Let's keep going. All right, we're about almost close to the end here, and I want to say that the lead now on the Tensor G3 has increased by almost 10%. In fact, more than 10% right now. It's at 12%. And it looks like it's about to wrap up. And it looks like it is done. Fantastic. And let's wait a little bit longer. We're gonna take the temperature here. We got 79.6. So it did increase about, 4 to 5 degrees here. And then the 7 Pro should be done any moment now. There we go. It's a noticeable difference. 79.6. Wow. Okay. So both exactly the same in terms of thermals. I will go ahead and do the non-scientific test of just skin temperature, and both pretty much feel the same. All right, so when it comes down to it, you can kind of pause the video, zoom in, and go through all these things if you really want to, but by the looks of it, it looks like file compression, it does 227 megabytes per second, while the 7 Pro does it at 182. That's kind of a big difference. We've got navigation at 8.68 versus 7.57 routes per second. HTML is a little bit more pages by almost 10 pages per second. PDF renders. Overall, it just did a much better job. Photo library is a little bit faster. So yeah, overall, just the Tensor G3 did outperform by a good 20% or so. And you can tell by the numbers, we've got 1763 single with 4471 for the G3. And the G2 is at 1474 and 3889 respectively. So let's take a look at some single core scores here. Where does that place our devices? It looks like with the 8 Pro is really close to the 23 Ultra at, basically 100 points behind. And even, well, our 7 Pro scored slightly above the average for the 7 Pro on. Anyway, I'm getting in the weeds for these. This doesn't really matter that much. I just wanted to show you guys that the G3 is not that far behind in terms of raw power. When it comes to dual core, that's when you'll probably notice, or multi-core, I should say, you'll probably notice the most difference between the Snapdragon Gen 2 and the Pixel 9 Tensor chips. We've got 3889 and 4471 on the G3. Right now, the Xiaomi 13 seems to be just rocking it at 5,000. Power level at 9,000. Anyway, S23 is at 4970. So, yes, it is quite a bit behind on multi-core. But again, raw performance in situations like this, unless you're doing hardcore gaming like Genshin Impact for, 4 hours straight, you're never really going to notice the difference. But I did wanted to point out that the G3 is a noticeable improvement in terms of performance, raw power. But overall, when it comes to real world performance, I don't really see. I mean, maybe this one's a hair faster in opening applications. It is a little bit more noticeably faster when it comes to rendering video files, transcoding video files, and editing images in Google Photos. It is, I think, where you see the biggest difference with the G3, which honestly, those are ease of life. These are features that I encounter on a daily basis, trimming videos, editing images, cropping, that kind of stuff. And those are the things that matter way more to me than, score was high in Geekbench. Anyway, let's get to the next test. All right, I gave it a little bit of time. Both phones are a little bit more cooler 77.9, and about, yeah, 76.8. So we got about a degree more than, on just ambient temperature. Again, both phones are super cool to the touch. You're not going to be able to tell. Our body temperatures are 98.6, so anything below that is going to feel cool to us. It's only when you get in the high 90s, or low 90s to high 90s, that you're actually going to be able to notice the warmth on these devices. As I smudge up, God, these cheap screen protectors. What was I thinking? Anyway, so I figured we'd go ahead and do a GPU benchmark. I did hear that the 8 Pro did get a slight boost, so let's kind of give it a shot, see what we get. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And again, halfway through, I'm gonna do a temperature check, and then I'll see you guys at the end of this test. Something of note, we've got 22% on the 8 Pro and 11 on the 7 Pro. So yeah, the speed increase seems to carry over to the GPU as well. And we're getting near the halfway point. So I just want to do a quick temperature check here. A couple spots. I know I got, give you the hottest number. Okay, so we got 78.5 and 80.7, 0.6, 79. Okay, so the G2 seems to be running slightly hotter in this test. Let's see how it does at the end. All right, we've got the GPU benchmark done for the 8 Pro. Let's see where we're at. Temperature-wise, we're at 80.6, and the 7 Pro just finished up with 81.1. Okay, so yeah, pretty close. Yeah, same thing. Okay, so pretty close in terms of heat. Again, both feel really cool to the touch. I don't think you'll notice that much of a difference. But when it comes to the actual score, we've got 5154 versus 3909. That is quite a bit of a leap. So yeah, it looks like the 8 Pro seems to, hopefully be able to handle gaming a lot better. And here, again, we can kind of see the area in which the tensor really does tend to suffer quite a bit in terms of just raw power. The S23 Ultra will offer you 8,800 versus the 51 on the Pixel 8 Pro, whereas the 7 Pro is scoring lower than the Pixel 6 Pro. That's interesting. Anyway, yeah, that seems to be the case here too. Even the average score, we did get slightly below the average score, but still, that's really interesting. I don't know why that's happening, guys, but in the end, if you're buying a Pixel, you're not getting it for gaming. I don't know how many people keep trying to make this comparison a big deal. You're getting a Pixel because of the cameras, the software, and you're getting an 8 Pro specifically because of the display. The display was good here on the 7 Pro, but on the 8 Pro, I cannot tell you how much better it actually is. I can go out in daylight and be completely just dumbfounded by how easily readable this display can be. Anyway, let's go see if we can do any other benchmarks for now. See you in a few. All right, here we are at 3D Mark. We're gonna do a wildlife test and then maybe do a stress test just to see how the G3 handles performance over time compared to the G2. So let's go ahead and run our test. I'm gonna do, FPS comparisons, I guess, and then we'll do a temperature check throughout. On three, 1, 2, 3. And both seem to be handling it pretty well. I do think I pressed on the 7 Pro slightly faster, but overall, we've got 42, 45, we've got 30, 49, 46, 60s, 40s, 50s, 39. So it does seem to handle frame rates per second a little bit better, about 10 frame rates better than the G2 so far. Yeah, all right. We'll see you towards the end there. One thing I wanted to do is do a temperature check because I definitely forgot to do that ahead of time at the beginning. So this is still kind of towards the beginning, and never mind, it just finished. Cool. We got 81, 82, 82, 82.8. We got 84.9, 85, 85. Okay, so it is a little bit warmer on the 7 Pro. Your score is better than 99% of scores for the Google Pixel 7 Pro. Hey, that's good, right? So we've got average frame rate per second here for the 7 Pro at 40.1 and at 51.1, so 11 frame rates per second better overall. On the 8 Pro with overall score almost 2,000 points higher. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know how any of the others score. Whoops, did not want to do that. All right. Yeah, and again, I don't think any of these were actually optimized, but one thing of note here, we've got 0% drop over the lifetime of the test, and degrees stayed about average, 27 overall, and lowest frame rate per second was 33 with the highest at 65. Here on the 7 Pro, we've got, it dropped 1% on battery, it increased 1 degree Celsius, and it went from 26 lowest FPS to 50 highest FPS. So I would say dramatically different in terms of performance onto the GPU. Let's go ahead and set up for the stress test. All right, here we are for the wildlife stress test. This is gonna run a pretty demanding 20-minute loop video, and it's basically gonna test the performance of the CPU all the way to its max over and see how it handles heat and how it degrades over time. So I'm gonna do a standard temperature right here as a baseline. We've got 80, about 80 degrees, and 80 degrees on this one as well. Okay, so let's run the test and I'll see you guys in about 20 minutes. All right, it's running, starting 10 FPS faster than or higher. And yeah, let's see what happens in 20 minutes. All right, folks, I think it's been long enough here. We're almost coming to the end here, so I figure it's appropriate to just crack a brewski. Oh man, well deserved. All right, so let's check a look at temperatures here. 98, 100, 100, 100. Okay, 100, 98, 100, 100. Okay, so temperatures are pretty much the same, but I have noticed sitting here watching at the screen for 20 minutes that it's consistently 10 frames per second faster. So it does physically feel a little bit hotter than the 7 Pro. The 8 Pro does feel a little bit hotter, and I think that's due to the new um, thermal layers that they invested in this phone build in terms of dissipating the heat all over the phone a lot better than they did here. Here, it gets very concentrated and it stays in one spot for the most part. Here, it tends to spread out a lot more evenly. And as a result, you do tend to feel it a little bit more all over the phone while holding it. It's not uncomfortable. Um, but if you do decide to have for example, Genshin Impact for 20 minutes straight, this is what you should expect. Um, excuse my dog. He is being nuts right now, playing with his toy. Okay, here we are. Stress test. We've got the 7 Pro at 6677. Nice. With the lowest loop at 4827, with stability at 72%. So that is it's respectable, I would say. At the G3, we've got a high or best loop at 8608. That is 2,000 higher almost, with the lowest score at 6591. That right there is insane. That the lowest loop score on the G3 was the highest loop score on the 7 Pro. So that's something of note, as well as the stability on the 8 Pro was at 76.6%. And you can kind of see the graph here steadily decreasing or degrading as the temperature and the stress increases, but it's not like a sudden drop, peaks and valleys or anything like that. It's pretty steady over time. I would say in terms of thermals, um, they did an awesome job at railing in that tensor heat as much as possible and addressed it quite a bit better on the G3 than they did on the G2. And the performance definitely shows. That is way more than 20% performance increase, in my opinion. And you can kind of get an idea here. We dropped 10% of battery. We've dropped about 10%, 11 almost. Temperatures range from 27 to 48. Here it ranged from 26 to 38. So it did get a little less hot on the 7 Pro. But the interesting thing here is frame rates, lowest 25, highest 64, lowest 17, highest 48. So, is the Pixel 8 Pro worth it in terms of the Tensor G3 versus the G2 in the 7 Pro? In my honest opinion, none of this matters. Are you going to be able to notice any of this in real life? Maybe if you're a real like serious gamer and that's all you do all day on your phone for 6 hours straight, and then you gotta, the only break you take is when you put your phone on the charger for a couple hours, then yeah, the 8 Pro, fantastic phone, you should get it. But maybe look elsewhere. I would definitely suggest something like the S23 Ultra as your best bet, or technically, if you're fine leaving Android, then the iPhone is your best bet. I wouldn't go with the 15 Pro if I were you. I would probably stick to the 13 Pro just because of the efficiency on that processor in that ear, as well as the battery. And you don't have to deal with you don't have to deal with a dynamic island cutting into your screen as much. The 15 Pro has heating issues. Overall, the performance doesn't seem to be impacted by the heating issues, but I don't know. I feel the 13 Pro is still the best deal. But regardless, we're talking about the Pixels here, and when it comes to processor year over year difference, I would say the G3 is a pretty big improvement, and finally, in my opinion, a true flagship level device, processor for the device, I should say. Um, no longer do you have to deal with the um, overheating issues. Um, I never once got a message, oh, by the way, your phone is too hot. You should maybe reel it in a little bit. You can tell it's cooling down a little bit better. And to the touch, yes, it does feel warm, but I think overall you're barely going to notice. In terms of performance, though, and longevity, this is promised for 7 years. Keep this in mind. 4 years, seven, and that's OS operating features. So you're looking at the G3 being able to age well and having the raw power to sustain the uh, the 7 year age gap that you might get in between phones. Honestly, if you can last 7 years without trading in your phone or getting a new phone or upgrading, power to you, man. You know, I'll take a drink for you saving that e-waste. But my guess is this is going to be a 2 to 3 year phone at most, maybe four if you're really pushing it. And I think the G3 will age like fine wine. That pretty much wraps up the performance test in terms of the CPU. When it comes to actual like app usage, um, you're not really gonna notice it. They both open apps just as fast. They both pretty much do day-to-day tasks just as fast as any other flagship out there. The one thing you'll notice is on the 8 Pro, you're gonna get faster video encoding, faster navigation through anything involving Google Photos. Um, Honestly, better optics, much better screen. I cannot highlight that enough. That the screen on this device is finally like iPhone level. It's the screen that, you know how every year Samsung comes out with the best screen ever on a smartphone, and then they always give you Apple the second best, and they always give any other manufacturer, whether it be, LG in the past or Pixel or anyone else, they would always give them the third best screen. Um, no longer is this the case. I think this screen itself challenges the likes of the S23 Ultra easily, and it beats it, in my honest opinion. You could be, Sammy Whammy if you want, but ultimately, I hate Samsung software, so I will never go back to a Samsung unless they somehow figure out how to put the Pixel UI on it, which I don't think is ever going to happen. So for me, the Pixel line is always going to be the go-to phone when it comes to Android. Camera is just so important to me. Being able to capture those special moments in my life, uh, my daughter growing up, my son playing sports, doing karate, all fast movement, sport activities. If you've ever tried to capture a video or a photo of a 4 year old, good luck. They don't know what sit still means for more than a second. So, having the ability of best take, of being able to, burst a bunch of photos, change up their face if it doesn't quite fit the scenario, like if they looked elsewhere or something like that. Um, Being able to blur the port or the any picture that I want, post processing, this phone is just such a better deal than anything else Android has to offer currently. Um, that's my honest take. Take it or leave it. If you've made it this far, guys, take a drink with me, please. You are a warrior. You deserve it. Um, please drop a comment. Tell me what you want to see next. Is there anything in particular you want to see? I am planning a couple of things, like potentially doing a gaming test, maybe, but it will be a very light gaming test. Something like Marvel Future Fight, Pokemon Unite, something like that. I don't really play Genshin. It's a money drain, or a time suck, as I like to call it. And I don't really do like PUBG or any of those, you know, FPS uh, type style games. So for me, it's something light, something that this phone really excels at, no matter what. Um, but yeah, if there's anything else you want to see, I am still testing out the battery. I'm waiting for the camera update that's supposed to come on this as well, to kind of give it a comparison. Maybe I'll do a camera comparison next, just because this has been such a solid shooter that I've noticed this one does a slightly better job, and I'm trying to figure out how to kind of present that in video format. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Um, I'm only able to do these long form videos if you subscribe, and I'm eventually able to monetize this channel. Otherwise, it's just going to remain a hobby for the moment. All right. Thanks again, guys. See you on the flip side.